Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm going to be answering the question, can you game in 8K with a GTX 1660 in Fortnite or indeed any game? Well, the simple answer to that question is, don't be a mad person. Of course you can't game in 8K on a GTX 1660 if you want to maintain high resolution and high frame rates. However, if you're a bit of a geek like I am, you might just be interested in finding out how far you can actually push a GTX 1660 in 8K with Fortnite. So what I'm going to do is just go through some stuff here to show you the system setup, and then I'll get into Fortnite and show you some of the settings and what the gameplay looks like. Okay, so as we can see here, I'm on a GTX 1660. I'm also in 8K, 60 frames per second. Also, this is a 6GB version of the card as well. Now what I'm going to do is come to system settings here, and as we will see, I'm on an i3-10105F. Now that particular CPU is nowhere near powerful enough for me doing 8K thing. However, even if this had a 13900K in it, it still wouldn't be any good because the massive limitation here is of course the GPU. And then I've got 16GB of DDR4 RAM here as well, clocked to 3200, which won't really come into effect either because of the GPU limitations. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is to launch Fortnite and speed through until I get into the game. Okay, so I'm into Fortnite, and the first thing that I'm going to do is go to the settings and let's see what's going on graphically. So as we can see, for resolution, I'm in 8K. And as far as the frame rate limiter is concerned, I've got it on unlimited. Now that is wishful thinking because there's no way we're going to get high frame rates here. However, as I go through some of the testing to do with like knocking down the resolution and stuff, we will see an increase in frame rates, so I'll leave it on unlimited. Anyway, if I come down here, as we're going to see, basically everything to do with graphical detail and stuff is either off or on low, because anything above off and low, the machine just ain't gonna handle it. Now another thing is that's worth noting here, if I come up to the anti-aliasing and super resolution and stuff like that, this is all switched off, and the reason is because even if I kind of put these on like their lower settings to try and help with the aliasing issues and then like, you know, boost resolutions and stuff, the machine just goes to a crawl and absolutely nothing will happen. It's actually better just to leave the setup in its full rasterized variation, which is what it is in right now. So what I've done here is left 3D resolution on 100%. So what that's doing is giving us 8K as far as the native resolution of the graphics is concerned. I will alter this in a little bit, but to start off with, put that at 100%. So let me just go back here. So what I'm going to do is click on play, and I will speed through until I get into the game. Okay, so I'm now onto, is it Spawn Island, and you'll have to forgive me for my terminology here because I am not a Fortnite player, although I do like to play the game. Anyways, what it is, I've just let it settle a little bit and let it load in. And as we can see there, I'm on around 27 frames per second, and the graphics actually don't look bad at all. So far this is looking okay, although at this point we will be suffering some things such as like, you know, frame delivery issues and stuff like that as well. But because the frame rate is so small or so low, we won't really see that stuff. Anyways, so we're now up in the sky and we've dropped right down to 22 frames per second here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me just spin around a bit and see what happens. Okay, so the frame rate is going to drop right down now as I'm spinning around looking at the floor. And the main reason for that is because there is a lot of rendering going on when you do that, and this machine just can't keep up with that stuff. Anyway, let me jump out and see what happens when I start jumping out. Okay, now we're right down to 16 frames per second, which is it's pretty nasty. Okay, although if I kind of go stationary and just float and fall a bit, as we will see, the actual resolution of the graphics is actually really nice. Now things like anti-aliasing may not even come into it here because the start off graphic is so high in the first place. Like I say, we're not getting any of the kind of like, you know, the more kind of smaller things to alter here as far as graphical detail is concerned because the system quite simply can't handle it. but even just looking at it as it is right now, the quality is actually really nice, although the frame rate isn't. Now I'm just going to speed through until I get onto the floor here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go running around a bit and test some stuff. Now, I can't afford to get into any kind of like battling here because, one, I'm not really a good player to start off with, but two, I'm just trying to test things. Anyway, as we can see, we're on around 26 frames per second there, and again, the graphics actually do look really nice, and that's in spite of the fact, like I've already said, you know, a lot of that granular stuff is all switched off. But because we are delivering at a very high resolution, it will look good, and it does. In fact, if we have a look at the brickwork there, look at that. That looks really nice, although the frame rate isn't nice. Anyway, in fact, actually is one thing to test. So at the moment, oh dear, run away, run away. Right, hold on. Let me just try and get away quickly here. I just don't want to die and keep restarting in order to try and test these graphics out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is run up here and hopefully not get shot by this person with a gun. Oh, come on, Dave, run. Hold on. Okay, so what it is, as we can see there, the graphics are kind of bouncing around 26, 27 frames per second. However, if I do this now, if I look up into the sky, look at that, the graphics have shot right up, or sorry, the frame rate has shot right up. Now, the reason for that is because the machine isn't having to render like so much detail right now. However, if I pull down now, the frame rate drops right back down to about 23, 24. And again, the reason why is because there has to be a lot more rendering going on because of all the stuff in the distance and what have you. Okay, so far what we've seen here looks really respectable, to be honest. However, what I'm going to start doing now is change some of the settings, or change one of the settings, and then let's see how far we can push the frame rate. So what I'm going to do is go back into settings, and hopefully I don't get killed. Right, so what I'm going to do is come down to the 3D resolution. So it's on 100 right now. So what I'm going to do is pull that down to about 80. Now what we're doing here is reduce the actual rasterized graphic resolution. However, because we are at 8K, 80% of that is still above 4K. So one, this should look okay still anyway. However, we should get a bump in the frame rate. So let's go back to the game. And as you can see there, we're now on, what, 40, 41 frames per second. It could be argued, actually, that this might be a point where it might be slightly playable as long as you're not playing against any good people. I mean, if you're playing against me, then these frame rates are probably all right. And then once again, if I look up in the sky like that, there we go. We've gone up there to about 45 or so. And then if I come back down, start like looking into the distance and like, you know, where the game's got to like model more stuff or render out more models and the distance and stuff, the frame rate is hovering around 36, 37, which again isn't that bad. But importantly as well, the resolution probably doesn't look like it's taken much of a hit here. And again, that's because we've actually started off at 8K and we're just pulling backwards from that now. Okay, so let me just stop here. Hopefully I don't get had off. Now, if I go back here to the settings again, what I'm going to do, in fact, you know what, I'll go straight down to 50% here. Now, we should see a bit more of a bump in the frame rate, and hopefully the resolution doesn't take a massive hit either. Okay. Oh, there we go. We're above 60 now as I'm standing still. So let me go running. Okay, so we're still maintaining above 60 here, and very responsive actually. I'm on a controller actually at the moment because I can't play mouse and keyboard, and this is actually feeling really good and responsive. Okay, and once again, because we are starting at such a high resolution, even when we bring that setting down to 50%, what's happening there is that we are essentially, I think we're around 4K actually now as far as the native rasterized resolution is concerned. Let me try and run away from this idiot with the gun. Hold on. Oh dear. Run. Run, Dave, run. Oh, come on. Act like Forrest Gump or you didn't get on. Right. I'm probably going to get ad off here really quickly. If I do, what I'm going to have to do is just restart and whatnot, and then continue lowering these resolutions down. Let me see if I can pick some stuff up here. Oh yeah, I've got myself a pistol now. That's going to be dead useful against the machine gun. Anyway, as we can see, the resolution, sorry, the frame rate is really nice. There's nothing wrong at all with that resolution, frame rate, and the resolution does look good as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take this down even more. So give us a second. Let me just get all juiced up here. Right, hopefully I don't get shot in the process and stuff. Like I say, I'm not battling or anything here because I'm just useless at the game. And on top of that, you know, I'm just not going to be like, you know, testing it properly if I try to battle and stuff. And I'll be concentrating on not dying instead of testing the game. Okay, so I think we've seen enough there to know what that frame rate's like, and it is around 70 frames per second. I mean, if I start doing stuff like, let me just like hit the tree and stuff. So the more graphics we get on the screen, it's going to take a hit. I mean, that will drop down. It's kind of dropped a little below the 60 mark there. And obviously, if we were going into like, you know, a fairly heavy battle with a lot of gunfire going on and things like that, and a number of other players around, you know, that frame rate would still take a hit. But because we are now above the 60 frames per second mark, you know, it is very responsive. Anyway, I'll stop talking nonsense and then let me change something else. So let me go back here to the settings. Now what I'm going to do, I'll drop it to say 30%, and we should see another lift again in the frame rate. However, this time I will suspect that we will start seeing a noticeable difference in the resolution. Okay, so let me go back. Actually, that's still not bad. Hold on. I mean, it has gotten a bit softer. Now, you might not notice this if you're not viewing it back in 4K or something. I mean, I have uploaded in 8K. And actually, another thing to be clear about here, although the game is in 8K, I'm actually only recording in 4K and then upscaling back to 8K. That doesn't alter anything to do with the fact that the game's in 8K, because we've seen all the settings. But right now, down at, what did we put it to? Was it 30%? That is now over 100 frames per second. And graphically, it still actually looks nice. Like I say, it has took a bit of a hit as far as the absolute resolution is concerned, because we are now coming below the 4K mark as far as the rasterized graphics are concerned. But nonetheless, it still looks good. Hold on, let's see, yeah. So maintaining for the best part over 100 frames per second. If I look up at the sky and run, look at that, 135. How cool is that? Now, let me just do the last thing here. I'll go back to the whatever the lowest is. Let me just come down here. So lowest is 10%. Now we are definitely going to see a massive reduction in the quality or the resolution. However, we might start seeing higher frame. Oh, look at that, terrible resolution. However, we're up to 150 odd as far as the frame rate is concerned there. So not bad as far as the frame rate is concerned, but those graphics look terrible. And the reason why is because right now we are internally rendering or rasterizing all of the graphics at like a very low rate here. I wouldn't even like to hazard a guess. This might be somewhere below 720 at the moment as far as the native rasterization for the graphics is concerned. Anyways, I think that should just about do it for this video. And hopefully, yeah, if anybody out there has been into this geeky stuff, you might find this one interesting. So basically, you know, you can't really game in 8K properly on a GTX 1660. However, if you are prepared to just like, you know, knock down some of the settings and what have you as far as the native internal graphic resolutions for rasterization are concerned, you can definitely get away with getting up to 60 frames per second and still have a decent looking picture. Anywho, I'm gonna get off now because I have spoken a hell of a lot here, and if anybody has gotten this far into the video, thank you very much for watching it. You deserve a badge. I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.